Hello and welcome to part 4 of my video tutorial on how to build a browser game. In this episode we will be focusing a bit on the design because as of now our project looks like this. It's not pretty. Let's make that better. Let's see where we left off because I kind of forgot even though the last video was yesterday. So I'm just going to open up a few files. Oh, didn't know you could do that. This is just a habit of mine, but I like to always have the CSS file open because you do lots of changes in it. Okay, so right now we have pretty much nothing. So we're going to start by making a couple of divs. A HTML div is a think of it as an area. If it's like this, it's completely empty. If we type something in it, it's going to stay in the div. But we need to give the divs some kind of style. So we're going to give them an ID. So let's make one div for the top. Let's make one div for the body. I don't really like to call it body because it gets confusing because we have a HTML body. So let's call it main. And lastly, let's get a footer in there as well. So we can move this stuff in the main div. So if we go to our website, it's going to look exactly the same because we have no styles attached to any of the divs. So let's just make something like let's put it in here. In our CSS file, we will define the div. If it's a div, we use a bracket. These other ones are classes, and these are just the standard HTML objects. So let's give it a height, a fixed height, just so we can see what it is, or what it does. So if we go back and we refresh, nothing happens. If we refresh again, something happens. That is because the standard, your browser, to save some data will, I think I've explained this before, but it will cache the CSS file. So if you in browser in Chrome and I think also in Firefox, if you hold Control and press F5 to update, you will do a hard reload, so you will download the CSS file again. So occasionally you need to do that. Anyways, we can see that there is a big gap here. If we inspect it, we can see that that part is actually the top. So just like that. So maybe we should put some information inside it. Let's just get in big text like the title of the game. I don't have a good title, so my browser game. That should work. Just like that. Great. Let's use our class called large to make it a bit bigger. All right. So I guess we can actually remove these. Oh, sorry, I removed too much. Just these. All right, so now we have the main. We can leave that blank, or let's just write in the main information goes here. And the footer, we can have something like copyright and wiki.se 2017, something like that, or just made by me. That's fine. So just to give the effect, we'll also make the ones for the main. I can't spell today. The main and the footer. So you don't need to have any styles attached to them. If you just leave them like this, it's not going to do anything. But you won't get an error for having empty styles or style IDs. So we can just type in just a background. So we will not red. That's horrible. Let's just make it gray. I don't know how to choose good colors, which you can see on my on my browser game, it's all like grayscale. But I like grayscale. So let's just get different shades of gray here. All right. So like this, because this is the only the top div is the only div that we have given a specific height. So the other divs will scale according to what's inside of them. So let's go back and just for some effect give it a fixed height, a height of maybe 800. And the footer we can just have height of 30 or something. Yeah, so it gets a bit thicker. Actually, let's put some borders as well. I like to have borders. You know what? Let's define a wrapper as well. We can call it ID wrapper. That's fine. And just give it a border, one pixel solid black, and then we just put everything inside of this. Give me a second here. We will get the div ID. Whoops, wrapper. And everything will be inside of this one, like so. So that means if we would reload this, we can see that we have a big, we have a lot of space here. So let's change things up a bit. Let's have a white background, because why not? And if we have a white background, then let's get the default color to be black. We don't need to have anything at all. We could just do it like that, because those are the standard anyways. There we go. So you can see that this looks a bit weird. We have a black border around everything, but we also have this white space up here. And I am not actually 100% sure of what that is. Why do we have that? Is that some kind of default padding? I'm a bit confused right now. It's probably because we have this H1, but that doesn't make any sense. Let's try to remove it. Here we can see it became a bit better. So because this is what you see when you visit a page, it's all in your browser. So if you bring up the inspector by right-clicking inspector or pressing F12, you can remove every single element if you want to. You can add things as well. You can edit the text, like it's like that. So you can get the website to look different, but once you reload it, it's going to go back to the same default, because you will ask the server to give you that page. Okay, so the reason it does this is because the H1 class has a default padding, no, margin. So let's get rid of that just to see if it works. So we'll give it a margin of 0 pixels. Let's update, and there we go. I don't know what the default is, how much margin, but apparently the margin is larger than the size of our div, so it will be expanded more than we have the space for it, and that's why the absolute top part becomes white, because that's not actually part of the div. It's part of the H1. So another good thing in the inspector is that if we wanted to like test the different things, like how the website will look like, if you click any element like this, you'll notice that you have the styles down here, and we can actually change these live. So we can just see if it looks better with green text. We can increase the margin to see that it's not going to work very well. And what you can see that we increase all margins. If you just write margin, it means margin from the top, from the left, from the right, and from the bottom. So if we just wanted to change like the top, then we can just write margin dash top, and we can increase that or decrease that as we see fit. But anyways, I think that this looks fine. It's probably not a good idea to do this because we changed the margin for all H1s. So that means if we're going to use them later, we will get the same we will get the same margin on them, and that's not always good. Because if you look at this this text here, this div doesn't have any padding and this doesn't have any margin, so it's right next to the wall, or right next to the edge, which most people think doesn't look that great. Anyways, for now, let's no, let's not leave it in. We'll remove it. We can just create a class which we call no margin, and we can say margin 0. And then we can just use this class, and we can just put it here next to the large. And now if we update, it will look great. Awesome. All right, so one thing I want to do is, well, first of all, I always like to have borders on pretty much everything. I like borders. So let's go with the top one and just get a bottom border, because we have borders around it because we are surrounded by this wrapper. So we can get that with 1 pixel solid black. I don't think you need to specify the color because we'll choose black as default, but still it's good to do. And we will do the same thing on the main. And let's go back and update and see if it looks a bit better. I think so. I think it looks a bit better. We should also just add like some padding. Let's just get a 5 pixel padding just in the main, and let's see what that results in. So you can see that I think we can actually inspect that as well. So it looks, yeah, you can see that the small green border right there is the padding. You can see it down here in Chrome. You can select the like individual elements. So that's good because this looks a lot better than it being squished up against the edge. All right, great. What's next? This looks pretty decent. Let's leave it like this. Let's just test the different kind of styles. We can have a text align center on the footer. So if we update that, the text will be in the middle. And you can see that the text is it's not centered with the div. The centering is a bit annoying, but we will do that as well. Let's see, it's line height, and then you need to specify how big the border is, or the area of the div is. So if we type line height 30, because the height is 30, it should align. Yeah, that's pretty. Or actually, it's not, but it's decent. Let's remove this red color. Let's have black. I kind of like the red. All right, back to red. So let's create a couple of buttons, and just so we can go to different places. Let's go back to the index file, and in the top we can get a couple of buttons. So the way you do links is you use the A tag with the href is like where to go or what the destination is. Let's create a register page, just like so, or not page, link, and we can just type the word register, and let's create a similar one. Whoops. What's going on? What the hell is going on? I'm a bit I'm not very used to this. I'm not very used to the sorry, I missed a PHP to the editor we're using here. I think I will start to like it after a while. If you watch the previous videos, you will see that I have an orange bar over here, and you can turn that off. It doesn't really do anything. It's just to help you, like tell you when to make a line break so the code will look neat. But I just found it annoying. So you can turn that off if you go to the, I think it was I think it was tools and options. Yeah, and the editor, formatting, and then it's just this right margin down here. Um, so you can take it for all languages and just this right margin. If you have it on 10, the line will be after 10 characters. So if you put it on 0, it will just go away. Anyways, enough about that. Let's see how the buttons look like. There we go. Register. And we can't find the URL because we haven't created a register page. And login. Great. And you can see that they are not they are underneath the browser element, and that is because the H1 class, or the H1 as default, will take up 100% of the available width. So to change that, because I would like to have my buttons on the right hand side, so let's switch that up. We will use the we will use a what's it called, a attribute called float. So we can do this in the CSS. Actually, let's create a class for it. We can just call it float left. So let's create a class called float left. And yeah, you guessed it, float right. Float left and float right. So what float is, it's let's see what it does. There we go. What it does is to make the elements not take up 100% of the width. So you can have two elements. You can have one here, and then you can have another element like this. You can have multiples like that. If we were to instead change it to float right, because this is earlier in our code, this will be like drawn on the screen first, and it's float right, so it will be placed on the right hand side like that. But let's put it on the left, and let's put this one on the right. Or actually, let's make a div for this. Let's just make a div. We can call it, let's call it just like account options. That's not really correct, but we can call it that. That's fine. And let's put these two buttons inside of it. Because now we can say for this account options, let's get some information in here. We can give this one like a fixed width. Or do we want to do that? I guess not. I guess not. But oh, I don't know. Let's keep it there. Let's just change the color just so we can see the effect. Let's change the color to like some other form of gray, and we will also float it. Float right. If we don't have a float element here, let's see, it should be fine, right? No, it's not fine. Oh, of course it's not fine because we made a div, and the div, just like the H1, just like most things, will take up all available space. So let's float this. Float right. Right on. Is that floated to the right? Doesn't look like it. Oh, what am I doing? So you can only have one ID. I didn't make a class for the account options. So let's get the class float right, like so. There we go. And you can see that it has a slightly different colored background, a different shade of gray. This one, let's make it just as big as the other one, because this div is inside the top. Instead of specifying that it should be 100 pixels like the top, we can just say that the height should be 100%. Because then if we change this value, it will change with it. So it will change automatically. It will become a bit more dynamic. So we can see like that. That looks good. Well, it looks alright. Pretty good. So what else can we do? Let's put in just a line break like that. Oh, we should specify a width as well. Let's just get a width of let's make it 25%. We could specify it in pixels as well. But if we make it like that, then we can hang on. Then we can like make it smaller, and it will scale. It will scale a bit. It will become a bit smaller, like that, because it will stay 25%. You can also have limits based on the size of the screen. Then you can have different styles. So if it's this small, maybe you want this text to be smaller, or maybe you want this window to be bigger. Things like that you can also do. I should have probably just adjusted this one. That's easier. So I've actually made a bit of an error here. If you look in the code, we forgot to close the A tags, and that means what we pretty much did was to have 5 A tags, because one started here and continued all the way down our page. We opened another one here because we didn't have this closing forward slash, and then we opened another one and yet another one. So it was a bit weird, which you can see here in the inspector. Like everything in the body is inside this last A tag. A bit weird, but once we just put that forward slash in, it's fixed. So it's like that. Looks a bit better. So one thing that we should change is, right now we have a fixed height of pretty much all our elements. We should probably make this a bit more dynamical, because if you have a smaller screen watching this, you will need to scroll to get down, and won't look that good. So let's go back to our default CSS. Let's make the HTML and body be 100% of our screen's height. That's probably a good start. And this is probably like personal preference, but I always like to have a bit of space around the like just a bit of dead space around the actual contents. So in our wrapper, let's center this one. We can make it maybe 90% of the screen size, and let's just center it by typing auto margin. Oh, sorry, margin auto, like that. So if we refresh, we can see that it will stay in the center. It looks good. And as you can see, we now need to scroll. Let's, from the HTML and the body, also remove the margin. Oh, sorry, I forgot to switch. But all I did add was this margin. And you can see that now we don't need to scroll, and also we don't have a border up here, which I think is nice. I like when it's all mashed up there. We actually, let's also change the wrapper, because I don't like that. We can just do that in the inspector. We have a black bar on the top, and I don't know, maybe once again it's just me, but I think generally it looks better if you just have the borders just on the side. Let's not do it in the inspector, actually. Let's write it back here. So we are just going to have one on the right. Oops. And we're going to have one on the left and one on the bottom. So left and bottom. Just like that. If we refresh that, it's probably just me, but I think it looks better. So as you can see, it still doesn't take up all of the space, and that is because the HTML and the body is 100%. But first of all, we didn't make the wrapper 100%. If we do that, let's height 100%, and we update. You can see that it's 100%, but the bottom here is just white because our divs doesn't go that far. So what we can do is to use something called flex, or I think it's actually called flexbox. So basically in the wrapper we will write display flex, and the flex direction will be column because it will go vertically. And then instead of having a height in the main, we will just type in flex grow 1. So now if we go back and we update, it will take up 100% of the space. You can see that we still have a scroll here, and that is probably because the everything is 1 pixel larger than it should be, because we have a border down here. As you can see here, we have a border bottom that is 1 pixel. So if we turn this off, the scroll disappeared. So let's just turn that off in the code as well, the border bottom, and go back and update, and it looks great. So just to show you that it's actually scalable, we can make it smaller like this. And you can see that this only the main container will change its height, and we won't get the scroll bar. So for example, if we add some text to this, so in the index, if we just type in lots of line breaks like that, and we can type in a word like hello, and we go back and we update this, you can see that it's still within the screen. But if we make it smaller, then it will expand, which is probably, it may be what you want, but this is not what we want. So we need to just add a little bit of extra code in our CSS file. So in the main ID, we will add the overflow scroll. So that means if it's overflowing, if it becomes bigger, if the div becomes bigger than it should be, or than it has space for, we should get some scroll bars. And this also doesn't look very good because it has a horizontal scroll bar as well. So let's get rid of that just by writing overflow. Is it X or Y? It's Y, of course. All right. So with the Y, there we go. And once we get, I think we can. Oh, hang on. We can hide this because we specify that it should be scroll. The scroll wheel will always be visible. So, whoops. Let's just type in auto instead. Auto. And go back. There we go. And now if it becomes too small, we will get the scroll bar. So that's beautiful. Awesome. All right, let's get these buttons to work. We'll go back into our code, into the index file. Let's remove all of this text, or we can just leave it. Why not? So right now our links are just text, but let's make it a bit nicer. Let's make it a actual button. The button is not going to do anything, but it will look pretty. So in here we can pretty much write whatever we want. There is a nifty button element, so why not use that? But here we could have a div as well and give it our own styles, or we can have whatever. We can have the h1 tag. We can do lots of things. Let's keep it just as a normal, nice looking button. Let's update. There we go. It's pretty good. They will scale to the information inside them, so it doesn't look awesome because they're different width. So let's go back, and what we can do here is, if we take this account options, we can actually, without assigning a class to the buttons, we can change how they look. So if we go to account options and we type in the same thing and then just button. Now, whatever we write here will only affect the buttons that are inside this div. So let's start by just giving them a no, not text line. Let's just set the width to 100% to see how that looks like. That looks pretty good. I like that. That's not too bad. Let's keep them like that. Let's remove the background here. We can just, that's not how you comment out things, apparently. That's how you comment them. So if you do this, then this is not active, but if you ever want to like activate it again, you don't need to write it. You can just remove the tags. And you can use these for multi-line as well, like that. And all of this will be ignored. But that's fine. There we go. Looking good. So we still have the div here, which we probably don't need the div to be 100% of the height. But let's keep it like that anyways. We can change that later. Alright, so we should probably make these links work. Let's create the pages. Let's create a new folder for that. Yeah, let's create a new folder for that. So we'll take a new folder. It's called pages. And inside here we can just give it a register.php and create another PHP file which we call login.php. And so what we could do here, just for testing, let's just copy everything from the index into here, and we will just say, here is where you register, all in caps, and just give them a input field. Let's see what that looks like. Actually, we need to change one thing first. If we go to the index, we need to change the link to pages/register. So let's see what that looks like. So if we go to register, then yeah, we get a lot of errors. And the reason we get errors is because if you look in the register file, we are still trying to get the design/template/head file, but we are in the pages folder, so we cannot reach that. So just to show you what it will look like if we go to if we move it up, so it's in the same folder as the index, and we remove this pages, and we go back one step to the index page, we press register, and now it looks pretty good. Here's where we register. Thank you. Like that. Perfect. So of course this is not what we want, because you do not want to have everything like this in like every single one of your files, because you will have a lot of files if you do it this way. So what we'll do is, let's just empty the register file. We'll put it back under pages, and let's segment this a bit. So let's take everything we have in the top here, and let's create a new PHP file in design templates, which we call top.php. And here we will just paste all of this. And just like we do with the head file, we will just include by writing some PHP code, include design templates top.php. So just like that. So this way, if we go back to the index, we don't need to worry about that. So we can actually do the same thing for the footer. Whoops. Let's do the same thing for the footer. Footer.php. And this might seem unnecessary to do because there's so little information. But if you just imagine this scenario where we have these three files right now. We have the index, we have register, and we have login. If we would just copy everything from the index to the register to the login and just change things, then whenever we needed to do a change here, like made by me 2017, we would have to write that in manually in each of the files. But now, because we are just putting it in a footer file and a head file and a top file, we can just change it in one file and it will spread to all our pages. So let's get back to the index, and I'm just going to be lazy and copy this over and just change top to footer like that. Let's make sure it works. Yep, it works. Still made by me. Perfect. So now, instead of having the links, let's see, where are the links? The links are in the top file. Instead of having the links go to these pages, what we can do is to use a get variable. If we do like this instead, register, and the login will be the question mark page equals login. So if I just save that and we just try to reach those, if I press register, you can see that the URL changes to index.php question mark page equals register. So this is what's called a global get variable, and we can access these with PHP. So just to show you, or not just to show you, this is how it's going to work. Let's write some code in the main here. Let's just get the. We're just going to check if we have a page. If we have a get variable called page. So with this, we are saying if the get variable page is set, if it does exist, then what are we going to do? We're going to look at it and see what it is. So we can just say if get page equals register, then we will just include the page that says register. So we can just say pages register.php. So let's see if this works. In the register page, here we can just say here is where you register, a bit calmer this time, not in caps, and get an input field like that. So this is all we have in that file. So let's head back to the, let's see if it works. So I'm going to remove this page manually here. You can actually remove index.php as well, because this is one of the standard files. So if we don't type anything in, we will go there. So if we click register, you can see that the URL changes to page register, and our index file will see that as yes, the get variable page is set. Okay, what am I going to do now? I'm going to check if it's register, and if it is, then I will include the file pages/register.php. And we can write an else if here as well. Say get login. What am I saying? Get page equals login, and just do the same thing like that. And now we'll also get the login. Login, please. And let's go back and check it out. Login, please. Register. So, one more thing. This is not much code, but we can shorten it a bit. What if we just, let's comment this out. Same as in the CSS, we can just write like that, /$, let's call asterisk, and just end it with the asterisk \. If we instead just look at this and we say, okay, the page variable is set. Now we can just include the pages get page .php. So as you can see, this is not going very well, and that's because we are mixing the strings with variables. So we will need to go like that. So this means that here we will first take pages and we will like glue it together with whatever is inside the get variable page. And we will also end it with .php. Let's see if this works. Login please, register, login please. And if we don't have any anything, it will just show us nothing. And we can also type that. We can just have, if no page is set, then just have an else and just echo out no page is set, or you need to specify a page, something like that. And with that, if we don't specify a page, we'll get that. The thing with this, and I should warn you about this, we are not checking whatever is in here. And that can be dangerous. I don't think it's dangerous right here. But for example, if you had something else that you didn't want people to see, let's see, I'm trying to think of what we could do. Yeah, let's see if this works. I'm not actually sure if this works. Let's create a new page. We will call it hidden. It's not going to be hidden because it's in our root. You're going to be able to see it, but this is hidden. So if that's what we have, if we go to our page here and we say that the page is /hidden, then we will actually get to the hidden page. And you could do this with like multiple times to get back even further back, and you could like get the server details for your database connection, things like that. So it's not really a good idea. I was just showing you how you can do it. And just to explain this a bit more, if you didn't get that, we will go. So I will include the page that's in pages, and then because we wrote like that, this means go back one step. We will go back to the root, and we will get the page hidden.php. So you need to be a bit careful with that, and that's why this way is much better. And we can end with an else saying, if we didn't match on register or login or whatever page we have, then we could just echo out, you requested an invalid, I really cannot spell today, link, like so. So if we try to get to that hidden, then we request an invalid link and we won't get it. Login, register, login, register. All right, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching. It was a fun episode. In the next one, we are going to make the register and the login work, so there will be a bit of SQL. It's going to be fun. I hope to see you then. Take care. Goodbye.